how do you figure out what an audience needs so you can engage them the right way with the right jokes or improvisation or crowd work? Like, how do you figure out where it is? Are you watching them? Are you waiting till you get on stage? What are you doing?
In comedy, it's obvious. Are they laughing or not? There's a very big difference there. But subtler than that, are they amused? Are they with you? Are they just entertained? Has it been a long show and they're a little tired, but they're still enjoying you? There's a lot of variation and nuance in that, but based on how they're reacting, you develop more tools that you can bring out to wake them up and to improve the odds. Basically, if the material's not working, you can start doing crowd work, which is what a lot of comedians will jump into the crowd, and vice versa.
I always had a dream, as I never got as far as you in comedy, but I always had a dream of having an arsenal of jokes. And by telling the first couple jokes, I knew what my next joke would be, but I never planned that set list. Did you ever get to that point where you could just throw out a couple tester jokes and be like, all right, I know exactly. And like, you're like you're just building the set list live and almost improvising. Have you gotten to that point in comedy?
It's a nice point to get to. I've gotten to it a few times, but it definitely comes to, I'm not at it right now. It's a place of momentum. It's a place of going out almost every night, performing multiple times a night, and really just having such a grasp on your offerings, your jokes, material, and what you can do, that you have a mastery of laying it out and serving people up exactly what they want, or just knowing like this special always works. And if not, I know, and simply even topics, just, if they're not into drug stuff, you go to the sex stuff, the sex stuff, you go to the clean stuff, or whatever you're offering.
Great comedians and great salespeople, they know how to engage. They understand, they're almost listening through feedback. So what I want to talk about here is buyer intent. So buyer intent is a salesperson's version of understanding what your audience wants. So the simple way to describe buyer intent, Daniel, is where is that buyer at and what the heck do they want? So for example, Daniel, you're a multi-billion-dollar CTO in a company.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just cold called you and interrupted you. And I said, hey, will you talk to me tomorrow for 15 minutes? Okay.
No.
Okay, so let's say you said yes. Let's say you said yes for some.
I'm a billionaire, reason. Sir.
Yes.
How did you get this number? Is what I want to know.
You're right.
A private line. I'm in the Bahamas right now. I'm just shoveling all my wealth into tax havens. Who are you, sir?
Okay, and most salespeople know that's exactly what happens, or the phone doesn't even get answered. But let's say you do, and I get 15 minutes with you. Follow me. You just gave me. I interrupted you out of the blue. You gave me 15 minutes. Versus you, the multi-billion-dollar CTO, did research, saw something on my website, reached out and said, I'd like to speak to somebody for 15 minutes. I have some questions. Are those the same first conversations?
Good Lord, not at all.
Okay, but so many founders and CEOs, so many salespeople that we work with are not really understanding that is two totally different buyer intents. That is two totally different. So what I want to give you as a takeaway for this video is 3 of my magic questions. I call them magic. They're just my favorite. That's me dressed up as some weird Zoltram, but 3 magic questions to figure out buyer intent. So number 1 is you get the inbound. And this is, again, you always have to remember, if it's outbound interruption and you get that first call, you have to come in with value. Just like we talked about in the other video, you got to come in with trends. You got to come in with insights. You have to make sure if you are the one that asked for the meeting, that you provide value, whether that prospect, she or he decides to work with you or not. They don't feel like, hey, I wasted my time with you. So if it's outbound, forget about it. You got to provide insights. You're not going to be able to ask a lot of questions, maybe a few. That's a totally different first call. This is for inbound. My first magic favorite question is, if they're coming at me, they saw the website, what recently changed to make this a priority now? And why I like this is, number 1, I'm trying to figure out if there's need. And number 2, I'm trying to figure out if there's urgency. So when we talk about buyer intent, if I now reached out to a salesperson because my CEO just said, this is a corporate mandate, this is our number 1 priority, find me a solution, spend whatever it takes, and I need this done yesterday, that is a different urgency. That buyer is in a much different spot than, well, nothing's really changed, but we're more looking to the future, and it's really not a priority now. I'm just more curious about the technology. This question is fantastic for figuring out buyer intent. Where are they at? Now, yes, every salesperson wants that hot, this is an initiative, I need it yesterday, pay whatever you need. But more times than not, you're treating someone that just admitted that this is not a corporate mandate, this is not tied to a larger initiative, and you're treating that customer the exact same way, or that prospect the exact same way. That is not the right way to sell. You got to know where to engage them. You got to understand where they are. This is my first favorite. The second one, what does success look like? So if we decide to do business together, you take my solution, what does success look like? Or another way to ask it is, how will you measure success? If they know exactly what they want to see, they're on a totally different path, then that's a really good question. You know, I haven't really thought of that. Two totally different sales processes. And number 3 of 3, not what is your budget, Daniel? Because asking people, what's your budget? How much you got to, that's awkward, right? Would you like to ask people, what's your budget? What do you want to spend?
No.
It's not what.
Awkward.
How did you come up with a budget? How did you come up with a budget for this? Given this is a priority, given this is what success looks like, how did you internally come up with the budget?
Interesting. That's a nice sideways way to get at it, or at least some information.
You got it. And now I'm also figuring out the buyer intent. If they say, well, this is an initiative, this is how we have X amount of money allocated, and it's down to you and 3 others. Most salespeople know how to fight for that. But what if, Daniel, they say, you know what? We don't have a budget yet. I need to go internally and find money. Most salespeople, this isn't qualified. That's not the right thing to do. This is now a totally different sales approach. This is back to our video on what are the business outcomes? How do you quantify the value? Now you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to sit down and back of the napkin. We think we can save you this much money. We think we can make you this much money. You need to now arm your main point of contact to go to the CFO to now get that budget and secure that money. Two totally different sales approaches based on where your buyer is at. So just how comedians know how to engage and what exactly their crowd needs, as salespeople, we need to have the right questions so we can figure out where our buyers are at, where our prospects are at in their buying process, and we need to have multiple weapons in our arsenal so we're able to help them, not to close them, not to be skeezy, but to be able to help them in their process. That is the right way to sell.
If you like more of this content, keep on following, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Appreciate you. Enjoy your day.